Yeah, I would have. I honestly would have. I would have. And us losing has not, honest to God, has not been the reason why I haven't been on the pod. But I've been really, really down because I just really had it in my head that we were going to fuck this up. So, and I'm sure we'll talk about more about this later. But to see him there, to see him celebrating like he was today, to see us find a way to win a game that was just, ugly in many respects and an absolute emotional roller coaster. Really was a special day for me, as I'm sure it was for countless other people.
So Tim, I know he got mugged off on social media today. I guess somebody had a tattoo of him on his calf and got him to sign it, and he charged 50 quid. And is it Poperoni? Is that the guy on Twitter?
Yeah,
he absolutely cunted Paul Gascoigne, which,
yeah, not one of my favorite accounts.
Our cunt of the week segment will be up later. We can add them to it.
By the way, I that maybe spill my beer out of my nose. I love that you do that, Jared. That's really when I listened the other day. I thought, oh, that's great. That's really great.
Timmy, any other thoughts coming from you as far as this Leicester match is concerned?
Danny Rose really placing himself in the window.
You think so?
Hell yeah, we haven't seen him like that, bombing forward, showing that form in a full year. You have not seen him play like that and contribute like that in the attack the entire season. Then it comes the last game. Hell yeah, he's putting himself in the transfer window for that. He's hearing that United's out for him and now he's going to have to go to Everton. And he's like, fuck that, I don't want to go to Everton.
Man, you talk about him, and he's one of probably about 30 different subjects that we can bring up and talk about the weirdness of this season, right? I mean, here's a guy that 2 years ago was just phenomenal for us. I mean, one of our best players, and then, here we are 2 years later after losing his counterpart on the other side and dealing with all the shenanigans and drama that just he alone, and there's been like 30 of these kind of things, like the Toby thing, and I mean we just go on and on and on about how, man, we just finished third, got deep in the Champions League, got to another semi, and it just didn't feel like it was a rough, weird season, right?
Yeah, well, it was, and Danny Rose, that whole situation is going to be interesting to watch how that plays out. To Tim's point, now it seems like he's playing for something, and where's that been all year? But you have to remember, too, he's been injured. He didn't really have that much of a full trainable off season. Neither did Aurier, because he was bought so late in the window.
Yeah.
The Toby situation, he's been dealing with injury on and off. He's about to hit 30. He needs a last contract. Now that we've secured at least third pot in the Champions League draw, and if things fall right, I think if Shakhtar does not win the Russian league, and if Liverpool loses to Real Madrid in the Champions League final, we'll actually end up in the second pot for the Champions League draw. Is that something that holds Toby back and says, hey, no, I'm going to finish here. Let me see what kind of contract they'll give me, and I want to open up this new stadium. So my question, I'll start with you, Tim. How many players on the pitch today? And maybe we just go in and say as a whole from this team,
glad we're doing this.
How many of those players are on this squad next year? I don't want to get into an entire transfer window discussion about bringing people in. I just want to get your thoughts on people that, fuck, man, they're out.
Hey, can we talk about the two most important? I don't know whether the most important, but certainly most topical, or certainly most important in terms of topic. But just address Rose and Toby. Will either of them or both of them be here next year, Timmy?
Either one or both, yeah.
Either one or both? I'm going to say neither.
You really think they're both gone?
I mean, look, Toby, I don't know if we're going to pay him what he wants to be paid. And the performance he put in today, the defense was shambolic today. And he didn't show that he needs to be making 150.
No, he was at fault for a couple of goals today, I thought.
Sanchez, you put him in there, and we get a little steadier in the back. And it shows that, Vertonghen's the true Belgian of the counterpart that, is the one that holds it all together. It's not Toby. Vertonghen, player of the season. I don't think Toby's going to be here unless he wants to drastically change what he's asking for, which after two lengthy injuries, 2 seasons in a row, and 29 going on 30, this is his final contract. I don't think he's going to change it. He's got to set himself up. I don't see either of them being here.
All right. And so the backdrop and Toby, go over the release clause and make sure so that we can kind of understand that.
So if Toby is on the roster, I guess, what is it, after this transfer window, then there's a release clause. It extends it to 20. There's a release clause that any team can activate next summer for $25 million.
If he's still on the roster this time in the summer of 19.
I believe so. I'm not sure when the clause actually goes into effect. I don't think they can I don't think a team can pay it in the winter, this upcoming winter. But I think it's next summer. Bottom line, it's $25 million. So if we don't re-sign him, this summer,
or sell him.
If we don't re-sign him or sell him, any one of our rivals can pay $25 million next summer and automatically trigger this release clause. And multiple of them are going to pay that if it comes to it, and he's going to have his choice anywhere he wants to go. Any club's going to pay $25 million for Toby. He's going to have his choice of the entire European continent. Anywhere he wants to go, he's going to get to go. So that's why I think it's so crucial, these next couple weeks, either we re-sign him early or we find where he's going to go, because this is the only summer that we can control him not going to a direct rival. Ship him off the PSG. I mean, off the, somewhere on mainland Europe, just not in the Premier League.
So you're out on Toby. What about Rose? Definitely out on Rose too?
Yeah, I'm out on Rose too. I mean,
why?
I don't know, man. I'm still bitter about the comments.
But what's he going to get? But hang on. Okay, those aside, and those are valid. There's valid points.
But he just hasn't contributed.
But hang on, how much now would you have to pay him? Like, what's the delta between what you have to pay him now and what he's earning now relative to the huge jump that I sensed that he wanted at the beginning of the season? In other words, like, I don't know, what do you think he's on now? 75K a week? Let's say that he wanted like 125. So what's that delta now? Is that delta now like 25 grand, like 100 grand a week?
So
want to stay? What's somebody going to pay him away?
Let's go hypothetical. What would we pay him if you're on 75 after the performance this year? I say, all right, let's give you 70. He's regressed.
Hang on,
but you're not going to get any effort out of him if you slap him in the face like that at the same time.
No, there's no reason to extend him.
But hang on a second here. I mean, we forget, like, how can one season, and in his case, much of it was injury-induced, and then he had, the kind of the drama around it. How can we forget? Is that enough, really, to forget about his past 3 seasons? Two of them, which he was remarkable.
So here's the thing. Danny's under contract until 2021. There's no reason to do a single thing this season. He didn't do anything this year to prove that he deserves a new contract. He did nothing to prove that he deserves a pay raise at all.
I see. So he's on. Oh, okay. All right. I'm with you. I'm with you.
So give him another year. You prove it next year, then we'll talk your contract. But right now, you have no leverage at all after the season you just put in, and after going off preseason. You have no leverage at all to deserve a new contract, at least not from Spurs.
I love having a lawyer on the show.
So, Tim, let me ask you this, though. If we were going to sell Danny, especially after the campaign he had when he was side-by-side with Walker on the pitch, we could have got $50 million for him as well, easily, because there was a big run during that stretch of season when he was our player of the season, easily.
Yeah, a good 15, 20. You couldn't have sold him with Walker, him in the same transfer.
You are not going to sell him for probably half that right now. Why would you go ahead and jettison him off? Why would he not be here?
I bet Levy could sell him for more than half of that.
Look, I wouldn't have any problem if I was a general manager of a club that had some money spending 35 million pounds on Danny Rose. I wouldn't. I think he's really good.
And I think
I don't want to sell him.
I think that's what supposedly the price is for Everton. I think it was around 35 is I think what I read. Just the rumored price right now. But
he's really good. He's as good as he wants to be. And Pochettino... And I think one of the reasons why he is so good is because we got a great manager like Pochettino who's brought the best out of him.
I think it all just depends on Danny. Like, if Danny's fine just staying here on his current contract, then let him stay here. But if he says, I need a pay raise, no.
Maybe what his approach should be is he should go to the club and say, look, I do want to get paid more money. Can we at least renegotiate my contract such that I get better performance bonuses? Maybe that's a better approach. But I didn't realize, I didn't stop to think, Timmy, that he's on a long term. We don't have to do anything. You're right. We kind of have all the leverage, don't we?
At this point, we do, and it's just a matter of if they want to try to negotiate something. So,
fuck him, he's ours.
Another thing that came out after this match, obviously, Pochettino always has his after-match presser. A quote came out, been circling through social media, especially from the written press journos. The quote is this, and I'll caveat this by saying I implore everybody to go out, read the entire transcript, and/or find the actual full video of the press conference to make your own determinations. But the quote says, "We need to talk between us and the club. I have a very clear idea of what we need to do. I do not know if the club will agree with me or not, but we are going to talk next week to create what I think we need to do it together again and try to improve." That is the quote that's going around social media. If you listen to the entire press conference, however, Simon, he goes on to say, look, we are not in a position like Manchester City and Manchester United to spend ridiculous amounts of money on world-class players. I think these comments are more geared possibly towards names versus amounts of money to spend on talent. Agree?
Well, and I watched the press conference because I'd seen all these negative posts. I'd seen the same Spurs fans on Twitter who could end up in the segment later in the show who have this absolute fucking melt when they think that Levy's going to get Poch to walk. This has nothing to do with that. This is purely and simply a press conference, and when he comes out with this, it's the same as we talked about it before we went on air, and after the United semi-final loss, where they latched onto that, with me or without me comment, and it's sensationalized journalism. Oh, what can we pull out of a bog standard press conference that we can run with a headline? And I don't think there's anything more to it than that. As any manager at the end of the season who probably feels that they're going to be there next season will want to start planning as soon as possible the campaign for the new season, particularly.
Who doesn't do that? I mean,
right,
my God, that's just
right. And
so you mean to, do people really think like they've gone a whole season without talking about what they're going to do after the season ends?
I'm sure Daniel Levy's Outlook calendar has multiple meetings with Pochettino, and I gotta think that Levy is a smart guy, that he recognizes Pochettino has taken this club far beyond his expectations. We're definitely punching above our weights,
which we all agree we have.
Yeah, and he knows he's going to have to back him, and what that looks like, who knows? We don't know. Pochettino has an idea. Levy has an idea. Let them meet and figure it out. But for everyone to have an absolute meltdown over those comments is ridiculous.
I'm right there with you. So listen to this. So you guys check the text that I sent you earlier today, and it should come up with a picture of Levy and Mauricio. I guess it's Wembley, and the headline says Poch fed up with Spurs project, demands change, and then it says ESPN.co.uk, and it takes you to Dan Kilpatrick's article, which I think still has a pretty strong title, which I don't know if it's really fair. I don't know whether Dan picked it. And I have a lot of respect for Dan in the work that he does, and I mean he's about as ITK as you're going to get. But the title of this article says Tottenham boss Mauricio Pochettino insists on new project at club next season. So this all started with, as I said, go back and look at that text. It says Poch fed up with Spurs project, demands change. That's not what happened here. That's not the context of this press conference. And I'm not even sure that this, insists on new project. I mean, isn't it really Mauricio saying, okay, look, we're here. We've made it to where we've planned to be, to get past this Wembley experience, to move into a stadium, to still have Champions League football, and to have the revenue base, the commercial base that we need to push on. So why should it come as any surprise to anybody that there's now another phase? And think about this. And the last thing I'll say about this. This stadium project is nothing short of remarkable. And if you think about the planning that goes into that, and the sort of, all the stories about Levy being so obsessed with this, well, it takes a team. And for somebody to suggest that there's not phases to this project at Tottenham Hotspur in terms of what we're doing on the field is insane to me. And I'm really surprised that the press this was Pochettino being very smart today. and using the press to his advantage. But man, the press bit on this hook, line, and sinker.
Right, and there were a couple of other things I want to touch on.